So what we don't want to see, and we're really fighting, is the issue of the carbon tax, where it'll increase the cost of everything for Canadians and really impact most those people who are in poverty, or perhaps young families and seniors that are really struggling. So it'll increase the cost of food, the cost of home heating, and really the cost of everything in transportation. So we really need to fight to keep those costs down and really enhance the quality of life for the people of Guelph.
It feels like a dislocation from the rest of your species. It feels like a severment from your own community. It feels like being an exile within something. Like you're an exile, but you're still right in the heart of everything else. Really wear on your mind. Like, in my honest opinion, being homeless and living in poverty, as long as you survive it, honestly makes you just so much stronger than most people out there. But it has a mental side of it too, like something that's always with you. This, for myself, it's kind of a resentment towards my community, a distrust of people in general. I feel like I've been judged on instant so many times for my situation, my circumstances, and my position in life that dampers my overall view of the world and my overall interactions with everybody in my everyday life. It's just, I remember the way things once were, and as hard as I try to not, it'll always be there.
Well, under a perfect world, first of all, I know that we want to talk about what we're going to do, but I would like to actually have a perfect world where the word poverty, the word, doesn't exist, because it actually didn't exist under our First Nations and Aboriginal cultures around the world. It's because everybody shared in the bounty, or they shared in the loss. And so they really didn't really have and haves-nots. If you didn't have, everybody didn't have. And if you did have, everybody had. And I just want to talk about the history of that. Is when we went to an industrialized economy and we made money the currency of have or have not, that's when we started getting the word poverty, and that's when there became haves and have-nots. So we came into an imperfect world where we've had that gap between the have and have-nots, which has been growing for a long time. So in a perfect world, I would see all parties, all countries working together to make it one of the #1 priorities in their country, because poverty actually holds down so many things, and poverty is linked to many things such as health issues, mental health issues, inner city decay, on and on and on. So in a perfect world, there would be no political boundaries, people trying to own the issue. There would be multiple collaboration and cooperation in communities to say, we're going to get rid of the word. We're going to make sure the word no longer exists. So we'll go back to that way of communal thinking, that it's not acceptable to have people that are have-nots, that it's time to move forward so that that sector of our economy no longer exists, because it's an unhealthy aspect to our economy and our society. And also dignity. People who are in current poverty or have-not situations, they have been undignified by past governments, by chronic programs which have demoralized them into having to line up and ask for handouts and things like that. So we need to put dignity back into into that aspect, so that people do not feel demoralized for actually having to ask or need help. So those are some things I'd like to have in the perfect world. Specific to Green Party policy, well, actually, we look back at eliminating poverty, not reducing poverty. And since 1989, when there was multi-partisan declaration in this country to eliminate poverty within 20 years, we've actually had more families enter poverty, more children enter poverty, and especially First Nations children and families enter poverty since 1989. So the trend has gone the reverse of what we said we were going to do 19 years ago. So we actually want to have all parties in all levels of government, municipal, provincial, and federal, talk about the guaranteed livable income. And this would be actually putting dignity back in, as I'd mentioned before. And that is something that Martin Luther King talked about in 1967, when he said the way to get rid of poverty is to just eliminate it. And what this would be is, instead of having to go through multiple levels and paperwork to get handout type of programs, this would put someone who fell off the mainstream and out of employment and did not have a living wage would guarantee a living wage from the government until they were back into the employment or personally a personal living wage. So that's a guaranteed livable income. It can be done. It's a long-term project. So that's a longer-term thing that we want to do, and that's basically would guarantee all Canadians the right to a living income. So that's something that we want to talk about, and we want all parties to talk about in all levels of government. We have a tremendous number of policies specific to poverty, and don't let anyone tell you that the Greens don't care about poverty or social justice. Social justice has always been one of the 7 key values in our values. So things we want to do is guaranteed livable income. We want to increase the national child benefit support to create a full child benefit income for low-income families of $5,100 per child per year. We want to increase federal work tax credits to $2,400 a year. Establish a federal minimum wage of $10 per hour based on $2,007. Restore broad eligibility for employment insurance. Right now, it's very difficult to collect an EI. Invest in major federal funding for social housing. The Green Party thinks the federal government needs to immediately get back into cooperative, high-quality, low-cost to run, healthy homes for low incomes. And that's where you can buy in with a mortgage guaranteed by the government so you get equity while you're in that low-income house. And we want 40,000 units right away, 20,000 refurbs. Also, invest in establish basic income assistance for persons with disabilities. Adopt a specific poverty targets and timelines and indicators for Aboriginal families, and reestablish the Colonial Accord that was brought down by Stephen Harper and Jack Layton, which was very disappointing and has put a lot of Aboriginals back into poverty. This is extremely disappointing. And so we will reestablish the Colonial Accord immediately and get the governments working on that. So we have lots of policy you can check out at mikenagy.ca. Go right to our policy section. Vision Green will give you section by section how we want to attack poverty, including child poverty. Thank you very much.
Poverty doesn't mean anything. Poverty is everything. Like, I truly believe that if you are impoverished, it's your daily life. It's not something you choose to be. It's not something, it just happens. Sometimes you're born into it. Sometimes, you know, you lose your job and you lose everything. But it doesn't mean anything. It's terrifying. It truly is. Like, I believe there's different levels of poverty. I think no matter what, you're gonna be broke. But sometimes, you know, you're able to have a house, but you have no heat, no hot water. Or, you know, you're able to buy your nutritional needs, but you don't have a roof over your head. It's terrifying, and it's not the most appealing thing in the world. You have nothing, and when you have nothing, society looks at you like you are nothing. And that's the most hurtful thing in the world.